Hey, what's going on, guys? FlynnMasters coming at you with another video, and today I'll be continuing on with my Hell's Kitchen chef ranking series, as I'll be ranking every season 9 chef from my least to favorite. And this should be a fun one. As many of you know, this is my least favorite season of all time. However, I will say it is more so top heavy in terms of chefs I don't like. But regardless, let's get right into it with my least favorite chef of the season and the entire series for that matter, with that being Elise. And not even gonna waste my breath with her, let's just move on. And number 17 is Jason, a dude who is literally not even on this season essentially, and he's still above Elise. Like, that should tell you everything you need to know. Number 16 is not only a forgotten bad chef, but a forgotten douchebag as well, with that being Chino. And like, if you're going to be an awful chef, I've said this a million times already in this series, if you're going to be an awful chef, just be funny about it and just be a donkey, you know? But to blame your teammates and throw freaking poor Natalie, the beloved Natalie, on the bus for you sucking, that is just so awful. So yeah, I never realized how bad Chino was until after the rewatch. And Chino is just another big reason why I'm very low on season 9, especially the season 9 blue team. At 15 is not a forgotten douchebag, but a douchebag nonetheless on the blue team in Brendan. But yeah, just insanely cocky and couldn't back up the talk. And I obviously don't like Paul, as you'll see, but him talking back to Paul for, after Paul was obviously upset after how service went, that was pathetic. Him bragging about himself to Ramsay, only to lie to him in the same episode with the infamous line about the sea bass. I mean, there is just nothing really good about Brendan here. We take a small break from the blue team hate here, with number 14 being one of the most forgettable chefs in Hell's Kitchen history, with that being Amanda. And yeah, literally nothing noteworthy about her. Other elimination came during a time where Ramsay personally nominated 3 chefs himself. That's obviously very rare, but yeah, literally a top 5 forgettable chef of all time. And again, back to the blue team hate here, but at least they added a little more to the season than Brendan and Chino, and for that matter, Amanda, with number 14 being Jonathan. And I always knew during his downfall, he got pretty bad, but and his downfall episode especially, but man, his entire 3-episode stretch during his downfall was just awful. Like, forget bad, it was awful. Like, going apeshit on Monterey for trying to help him, and then blaming him for his mistakes and throwing chairs around, acting like Paul and Will and all that. In episode 7 and 8, he just blamed pretty much the entire blue team and wouldn't own up to his mistakes. Of course, he let them do the punishment while he sat out and complained about his injury. It's just a complete douche. I will give him credit though for those first 5 episodes. He was, damn good and chill, and honestly was even more of a favorite to win at that point than Paul, as it definitely seemed to be between Jonathan and Will early on. But overall, you just cannot overlook how bad he was during his downfall. And we finish off with the unlikable blue team members, with that being the winner of the season and Paul. And again, won't be the dead horse too much on this one. As many of you know, he's my least favorite winner in the show's history. And I will never take away his drive and passion. An overall great win. Like, that's awesome, and that's why he's this high in the first place. But he's just simply too much for me. The main center point of my least favorite episode in the show's history. It's funny, after doing most story videos, I'm a lot higher on winners, and as you'll see later on, I'm a lot higher on Will actually. But I will just never be a fan of Paul. He's just so over the top and annoying. He is just not for me. We have another blue team member to talk about now, but we're no longer covering douchebags and annoying people, at least, as we're finally getting to the first boot in Steven. And I know a lot of people have always labeled Steven as a forgotten first boot. I always personally found him entertaining and pretty memorable because, again, he was a donkey, but not in a douchebag way. Like, he was so convinced his signature dish and dishes he made during service were so good, only for Ramsay to pan on them. But and he was so confused why, but at least he didn't really argue with it. He defended himself, but he didn't argue with it. You got him saying he could help the dishes. He could help with dishes when Ramsay meant to help with the customers. That's hilarious. And Ramsay's elimination quote of him in general is one of my all-time favorites. Again, a very underrated first boot in my opinion in terms of entertainment. On to 2 chefs who are forgettable, but for very similar reasons, with the first one being Gina. And just a very odd character this season, as she didn't seem to have a beef with Elise, yet Elise called her out for being the weakest, and she indeed went home without being nominated. That was odd. She obviously wasn't great, but she made like one mistake up until that admittedly bad 5th service, but still. So yeah, not much to say other than just probably the first of many chefs this season to get screwed in order to keep Elise around, although obviously not nearly as badly screwed as the ladies above her. And speaking of, another chef eliminated to protect Elise was of course Jamie. And I will say, I don't know how Jamie got on the show. She was extremely bland and boring, but how the hell did she go home over Elise and Carrie when those 2 literally got kicked out of the kitchen? Like, could you imagine if this was real life and the person who got fired at least fed the customers while there was 2 chefs who kept their jobs jobs that got kicked out of the kitchen that night. Like, what the hell are we doing here? Again, the fact that Jamie is as boring as she is and is in the top half of my list should tell you everything you need to know about what I think about this cast. On to number 8, and we literally have arguably one of the most forgettable late boots of all time in Elizabeth. Now, I will say, while she was invisible for most of the season, she did provide funny moments here and there, like the "I'm sorry" freak out during service, acting like she was peeing during the blind taste test, completely screwing up that Hawaiian challenge somehow, some way. Like, that's all funny. And again, she was a good chef, and on paper screwed over by Elise, definitely. But I will say, I kind of understood this one, as she obviously was just, you know, proven not to be a leader. So like, I kind of understood it, but I don't know. Let's be frank about this. Like, even if she was gonna win the season, she deserved a black jacket over Elise. On to Elise's main rival of the season, in Carrie. And yeah, Carrie herself is no angel, but like, you can't help but want to root for her, especially when she caught the eye of Elise. Like, God bless this woman. And in general, she was an outcast and underdog from the start. And unlike her rival, she truly did prove herself. Again, she wasn't great or anything, but you can't argue her 8th place run. So yeah, in any other situation, Carrie would be a lot lower, but I gotta pay my respects for her and all she had to go through this season. On to a bit of an underrated chef here in Krupa, and she was the first chef to not back down from Elise and defending Carrie and the red team in general of Elise's bullying behavior. Always had mad respect for her for that. And she had decent moments here and there, like her standout for service. But at the same time, she had plenty of memorable bad moments as well, such as her signature dish, you know, Krupa, that is crappa, and somehow like thought filet mignon was veal. Like, that's crazy. But so she has moments here and there, but is definitely mostly this high for standing up to Elise. Again, mad respect for her. On to the top 5 now, and at number 5, I have Monterey. And I know a lot of people talk about the big 4 on the blue team. I obviously would replace Paul with Monterey, as he's just one of those prototypical cool dudes to root for, like I always do. I always say when making these lists, and who also had a bit of an underdog run too, despite being an early boot. One of those rare instances. Again, was totally on his side during his beef with Jonathan. Like I said, he had his iconic beef with sous chef Scott. Like, there's really not much bad to say about Monterey, which is why he's in the top 5, despite being a relatively early boot. So while on the rewatch, my view of Paul did not change, it did for Will for the better. And yeah, I mean, again, like I said, he still had his over-the-top moments, like throwing chairs around after episode 2 and going ape shit and threatening to quit when the Black Jackets were making their menus. Like, even I had to take Elisa's side on that. Like, just calm down, dude. It's not that deep, for God's sakes. But I will admit he was that typical big guy chill dude for pretty much the entire rest of the season, before and after that, which, again, I always really like. And the fact that he's literally the best line cook in Hell's Kitchen history, like, again, like, you have to respect that. Even if you don't like the guy, like, massive respect for that. So, why I won't say I love him by any means still, he definitely improved big time for me on this rewatch. Definitely came across more so as a chill bro, as opposed to, you know, over the top annoying like Paul is for me. On to number 3, and that is Natalie. And yeah, she's considered the best team switch in Hell's Kitchen history for a reason, as she meshed so well with the men. Like, obviously her modeling in front of them was pretty funny. Her going crazy over Tommy's grape jokes, and like, just in general, she was totally sweet. And, you know, good chef as well. You wanted to see her do well, and we'll likely never get a better team switch in Hell's Kitchen history. On to number 2, and that is Jennifer. And despite a somewhat slow start, she dominated the entire season on the red team, far and away their most consistent cook. And the thing with Jennifer is, like, while at times she was totally polite and pleasant, when Elise got under her skin, man, she called her out big time, and she went all out. Like, that was awesome to see. Again, always so freaking annoying when freaking Ramsay would say, "Oh, you have no fight." Like, get out of here with that. And speaking of, obviously her elimination was complete BS, you know, sums up why I hate the season so much. God, it's so annoying she didn't make it further, but so glad to have Jennifer on this season. A true breath of fresh air, especially on the red team. But at number 1, one of my all-time favorite contestants in Hell's Kitchen history is Tommy. And my God, what a hilarious figure. Gave some amazing confessionals, just had that bewildered look on his face at times. Just a lovable goofball who had his 19-year-old girlfriend and was proud of it. And despite being the definition of a donkey, he had his good moments, like he really did. Now, did he deserve a black jacket? Probably not. And, you know, the fact that he made it to the final 4 is even funnier, and gave the worst pass run in Hell's Kitchen history. But that's what makes it so funny. The fact that we got, you know, this inconsistent of a cook, but it was so funny and made as far as he did, especially on such a nasty season like this. Just an amazing character, and is likely a top 5 character of all time, in my opinion. So there you have it, guys. My ranking of all season 9 contestants. Again, obviously pretty tough, as I do not like a majority of this cast. So let me know what you think of this cast in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe and like button to support the channel. And until season 10, have a good one, guys.